Jewish beauty is often described on the basis of the verse what the Jews said when the sea was splitting. In the Song of Songs, Zeh Keli v'anvehu. This is my God, and I will adorn him. Now, we can't adorn God. We can't dress up God. But the rabbi said in Shabbos, Kuf Lamed Aleph Amud Beis, Hitna'el lefanav hamitzvot. Be beautiful before God. You know how? With mitzvot, with our good deeds. Sukkah na'ah, lulav na'eh, Sefer Torah na'eh. You can have a beautiful sukkah. That's how a Jew expresses beauty. The fulfillment of God's will to dwell in a sukkah, to show our transient nature of life, but do it in a beautiful way. Shekel lulav, but adorn it with beautiful lulav pieces. A lulav na'eh, a beautiful palm branch. And Sefer Torah na'eh. Write the Torah with a beautiful script. It's just words, but it's beautiful because I'm trying to fulfill the divine will. I'm writing the words of God, and I'll do it in a beautiful way. This is Jewish beauty, doing our commandments, living our religious lives in a beautiful fashion. So if we ask ourselves, why in this beautiful, exalted parsha, magnificent parsha of Kedoshim, would love your neighbor as yourself, do not hate your neighbor in your heart, be holy unto me. Why in this beautiful parsha is it tinged with all kinds of laws about sorcery and not stealing and cheating and lying? And the answer is that just to talk about beautiful concepts will not bring us to the Jewish beauty, the Jewish aesthetic. You know how we get to the Jewish aesthetic? It's through beautiful deeds. And in order to deal with that, we need to deal with some very real problems of human licentiousness. And that's why the parsha is surrounded by the discussion of human licentiousness. You want beautiful ideas, ideals, you want to discuss exalted topics. Let's get our own physical urges under control. Parsha is surrounded by the discussions of arayot, of that which is licentious, that which is forbidden. Parshat Kedoshim tells us that the Jewish aesthetic says, you want beautiful concepts, let's make sure that our relationship with others, with those who are impoverished, with those who are blind, with those who can't hear, with those who are strangers in our midst. Let's make sure that those relationships are good and sound and kosher. Then, and only then, can we lead the beautiful life. When indeed the Bilam, the prophet of the Gentiles, said, Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, how goodly are your tents, O Israel. What do they mean? What's so good about the tents of Israel? And there Rashi on Bamidbar, Perek Daled Pasuk He, 24:5 in Numbers says, number one, Pitcheihem einam mechuvanim ze mul zeh. One person doesn't look into the door and the window of his neighbor. Chastity, a way of life, a way of holiness. That's beautiful. That's Jewish beauty. Or another interpretation in Rashi, based on the Midrash, the Oel Shiloh Beit Olamim. The tent, you know what tent is beautiful? The tent of Shiloh. The tent of the sanctuary. The tent of the holy temple in Jerusalem. Those temples are so beautiful. Now an outsider will walk into the temple and they'll see blood, sacrifices, sprinkling blood of sacrifices on the altar. And they'll say, this is not beautiful. This is disgusting. But Bilam understood that this was Jewish beauty. In fact, on Sukkot, we have a whole ceremony dancing and celebrating in the temple in Jerusalem. And there we would say, Yofi lach mizbeach, Yofi lach mizbeach. That altar, which represents the sacrifices of every Jew who has to control himself to not work on Shabbos, control himself, his human impulses and urges, which will only get him in trouble. All of this is the beauty which we put on the sacrifice on the altar. And then we say, Yofi lach mizbeach. That's beautiful. That's Jewish beauty. Sacrificing what you want to do for what's right, what's moral, what's godly, what's commanded, what's not commanded. This is the real beauty. Yofi lach mizbeach. Yofi lach mizbeach. David Brooks, in a recent column in the New York Times, wrote about the end of philosophy. The notion that there's actually been research that the relationship, the correlation between beautiful words of philosophy and action is very little. The result of writing beautiful treatises about morality is not necessarily a moral life. The rabbis understood long ago that philosophy was not the way to go. It's action. The actions of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, those are the deeds that will put us on a good path. It's not about words, it's about action. Finally, this notion of Jewish beauty can be expressed by the terrible story we read on Yom Kippur and on Tisha B'Av, where the governor was destroying all of the various rabbis of old. And when it came to Rabbi Ishmael, the beautiful, holy soul of the great Rabbi Ishmael, the Roman governor's daughter said, "No, his face is too beautiful to destroy. Save his face." So they took a comb and they peeled off his skin. And they said, "Here, my daughter, you can have the beautiful skin of Rabbi Ishmael." To some, beauty may seem skin deep. The beauty of Rabbi Ishmael is his beautiful features on his face, but not the beautiful notion of Judaism. The notion of Judaism is that beauty is not the features of Rabbi Ishmael's face, but his actions, his self-control, the beauty of the tents of Israel, the synagogues and the Batei Midrashot, the houses of study. This is Jewish beauty. Yofi lach mizbeach, yofi lach mizbeach. Jewish beauty is the altar of human sacrifice, the willingness to offer our greatest desires up to God and say, "I will control myself for God and for what He commands." Jewish beauty is a Sefer Torah Na'eh, is a beautiful Sefer Torah, the beautiful performance of a mitzvah. It's not philosophy. It's not words, it's not verbiage. It's not the beautiful words of love your neighbor as yourself that makes the Jewish people who they are. But it's all together. Tzadiku yachtav. Mishpetei Hashem emet. The laws of God are true. Tzadiku, they are righteous. All together. When you put all the laws together, the beautiful and the not so beautiful, the beautiful and yes, the ugly, then you have something truly beautiful. Yofi lach mizbeach. Yofi lach mizbeach. That is Jewish beauty, the Jewish aesthetic. Thank you.